Welcome to NewsTrack YouTube channel. In today's video, we share the latest updates on celebrities who sadly passed away today. We remember their lives, achievements, and the impact they had on fans around the world. Our thoughts go out to their families and loved ones during this difficult time. Stay updated with real-time news on celebrity deaths and tributes from the entertainment industry. Phil Roberto. Phil Roberto dies at 76. The St. Louis Blues announced that former player Phil Roberto has died at the age of 76. Roberto began his professional playing career with the Montreal Canadiens on December 17, 1969. Despite tallying only one assist in 8 games during the 1969-70 season, Roberto increased his offense the following season, scoring 14 goals and 21 points in 39 games. He added another assist in 15 postseason contests as the Canadiens captured the Stanley Cup against the Chicago Blackhawks. Without much information on the type of transaction, Roberto was moved from Montreal to the Blues organization partway through the 1971-72 season. St. Louis is where he'd have the most individual success of his career, scoring 33 goals and 71 points in 148 games in parts of 4 seasons. The Niagara Falls, Ontario native joined the Detroit Red Wings partway through the 1974-75 season and scored 14 goals and 48 points in 83 games with the second Original Six organization of his career. Roberto left the Red Wings in the 1975-76 season and began playing for 3 different teams that were briefly part of the NHL. From halfway through the 1975-76 season to 1977, Roberto played for the Kansas City Scouts, Colorado Rockies, and Cleveland Barons. He joined the WHA's Birmingham Bulls in 1977-78, ending his NHL career with 75 goals and 106 assists in 385 regular season games. Jeff Sperbeck. Jeff Sperbeck dies at 62. Jeff Sperbeck, a business partner and former agent for NFL Hall of Famer John Elway, died Wednesday after suffering an injury last weekend at a Southern California golf resort community. He was 62. No cause of death was released, but the Riverside County Coroner's Office said Sperbeck was injured Saturday, and the address listed for the incident belongs to the Madison Club in La Quinta. The Riverside County Fire Department said the agency was called to that location on Saturday after someone fell out of a golf cart. The person, who wasn't identified, was taken to a trauma center, said department spokesperson Maggie Klein de la Rosa. The sheriff's department said it is investigating the golf cart incident. Elway was at the scene of the crash, witness Ali Simon told KESQ-TV of Palm Springs. Simon said she did not see the accident occur but saw a man lying on the ground surrounded by people and Elway on the phone. "I'm absolutely devastated and heartbroken by the passing of my close friend, business partner and agent Jeff Sperbeck," Elway said in a statement Wednesday. "There are no words to truly express the profound sadness I feel with the sudden loss of someone who has meant so much to me. My heart and deepest sympathies go out to Jeff's wife Corey, his children Carly, Sam, and Jackson, and everyone who knew and loved him. Jeff will be deeply missed for the loyalty, wisdom, friendship, and love he brought into my life and the lives of so many others." Elway's statement did not address his presence at the scene. Sperbeck began managing Elway in 1990, when Elway was quarterback for the Denver Broncos. He represented more than 100 NFL players during a 3-decade career as an agent and business advisor. Roy Cooper. Roy Cooper dies at 69. Rodeo legend Roy Cooper, nicknamed the Super Looper during his legendary career, died in a house fire in North Texas Tuesday night. The fire happened around 7 p.m. at Cooper's home on County Road 3051 near Decatur in Wise County. The Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, PRCA Hall of Famer, amassed a legendary rodeo resume. Cooper was Rookie of the Year in 1976 and won 7 individual event world championships, 6 in tie-down roping and 1 in steer roping, and 1 all-around crown while dominating the competition, particularly throughout the 1980s. His prowess with a rope landed him the nickname Super Looper and into the inaugural class of the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in 1979 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. They immediately started to extinguish the fire and were notified that a victim may still be inside the residence. the body of a male victim identified as Roy Dale Cooper was located inside the residence at approximately 7:30 p.m., said the Wise County Fire Marshal's office in a statement. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. Cooper's cause of death has not yet been determined. The county said the Wise County Fire Marshal's office, Tarrant County Fire and Arson Investigators Task Force, Wise County Sheriff's Office, and Texas Rangers are investigating. No one else was inside the home, Wise County Fire Marshal Jeff Dowdy told NBC5. Investigators are expected to return to the scene on Thursday. David Horowitz. David Horowitz dies at 86. David Horowitz, a conservative commentator and founder of the David Horowitz Freedom Center, who spent decades promoting anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian rhetoric, died Tuesday at age 86 after a long battle with cancer. Though once a Marxist in his youth, Horowitz became better known in his later years for what critics widely condemned as Islamophobic activism, incendiary writings, and a central role in pushing far-right ideological narratives across college campuses and media platforms. Horowitz's Freedom Center, originally established to combat what he described as leftist indoctrination, evolved into a hub for conspiracy-driven anti-Muslim content. The Southern Poverty Law Center has labeled the organization an anti-Muslim hate group, citing its persistent campaigns against Muslim student organizations and its propagation of discredited claims about Islamic law infiltrating the U.S. legal system. One of Horowitz's most controversial initiatives was his Islamofascism Awareness Week, which he promoted on college campuses, warning students of what he alleged was a jihadist threat from Muslim student groups like Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP, civil rights organizations, Muslim advocacy groups, and university communities roundly rejected the campaign as fear-mongering and hate speech. He was also an outspoken opponent of Palestinian rights, frequently describing pro-Palestinian activists as apologists for terrorism and openly opposing any political recognition of Palestinian grievances. His center's publications often vilified Palestinian advocacy and dismissed critiques of Israeli state violence as anti-Semitic. Ed Van Impe. Ed Van Impe dies at 84. According to a release from the Philadelphia Flyers, Ed Van Impe, the second captain in Flyers history, passed away at 84. Van Impe's NHL career spanned 11 years and 703 games, with all but 3 of those seasons being played in Philadelphia. After his rookie season with the Chicago Blackhawks, the defenseman was selected by the Flyers in the 3rd round of the 1967 NHL expansion draft. He had 121 points, 19 goals, 102 assists, in 620 games with the Flyers. Ed Van Impe won 2 Stanley Cup championships in 1974 and 1975, both with Philadelphia. The Saskatoon, Canada native's physical style was a hallmark of the Broad Street Bullies era. He cemented this brand of hockey and his legacy in the annals of Flyers history in the 1976 Super Series. In an exhibition game between the Flyers and the Soviet Union's Central Red Army team, Van Impe knocked Valery Kharlamov out cold. The Soviet team left the ice in protest, refusing to return. A Flyer always gives more than he thinks he has, does what he has to do to win. He does it game in and game out, not just every 4th or 5th time he plays, Van Impe told Hockey Hall of Fame writer Jay Greenberg in Flyers at 50. Van Impe helped to form and then run the Flyers Alumni Association. He also served as a television broadcaster in Philadelphia for 5 years. The 3-time NHL All-Star was inducted into the Flyers Hall of Fame in 1993. We at Broad Street Buzz mourn Ed Van Impe's loss and offer our condolences to his friends, family, and the community. The Flyers mourn the loss of a leader and original Philadelphia Flyer in Ed Van Impe, the team said in a post on social media. Peter Bossestow. Peter Bossestow dies at 67. 2-time Carleton Premiership player and WAFL legend Peter Bossestow has died, aged 67, after a battle with cancer. Known as the Buzz, Bossestow was a much-loved Carleton figure, despite playing just 3 seasons at the Blues. He was a key part of their VFL flags in 1981 and 1982, kicking 146 goals in just 65 games, and has the rare distinction of winning Mark and Goal of the Year in the same season in 1981. Either side of his stint at Prince's Park, Bosestão kicked 379 goals in the WAFL with Perth, winning premierships there in 1976 and 1977. He was named in Perth's Team of the Century and also played 17 state games for Western Australia. Bosestão was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2021. He died in Perth on Monday morning. He is survived by his wife Shelley, son Brent, and daughter Brooke, who said their goodbyes before he passed away. Peter was an exceptional talent. I've coached some outstandingly talented players, but on his day, Peter could do things on a footy field few could emulate, his former coach David Parkins said. Peter had remarkable capacities in the air and on the ground, and was probably as exciting a player to watch as we ever had. What was really good was that despite the ups and downs of a coach-slash-player relationship, we remained really good mates and shared so much over the journey. We used to call, text, or email each other a lot, particularly through the course of his illness. As a player, he tested me like nobody else, but he was always quick to apologize to me and the players, and it was just a bit sad that he decided to go home. But he was a gem of a bloke. Carlton great Ken Hunter, a fellow West Australian who headed east to the Blues with Bosestão, paid tribute to his former teammate. Jane Gardam. Jane Gardam dies at 96. Jane Gardam, author of books for adults and children including Old Filth and The Hollow Land, has died at the age of 96, her publisher has confirmed. The Yorkshire-born novelist's career spanned 50 years, and she was awarded an OBE for services to literature in 2009. Her books were also nominated for the Booker Prize, the Orange, now Women's Prize, and the Folio, now Writer's Prize. She remains the only person to have won the Whitbread Prize, latterly the Costa, in 2 categories. She won the Children's Book category in 1981 for The Hollow Land, and the Best Novel category in 1991 for The Queen of the Tambourine. Old Filth was named as one of the BBC's 100 Greatest British Novels in 2015. Gardam was much admired by fellow authors, with Ian McEwan calling her a treasure of English contemporary writing. Describing Old Filth when it came out in 2004, fellow novelist Maggie Gee said Gardam's writing crackles with energy, variety, sensuous richness. It is the writing of a 25-year-old with the wisdom and subtlety of a razor-sharp 100-year-old. Born in 1928, Gardam was raised in the seaside Yorkshire town of Redcar by a maths teacher father and a stay-at-home mother who was passionate about writing. She wrote all the time, endlessly. She'd just say to any child in the street, "Excuse me, could you just take this letter to the post?" And she was always writing sermons, Gardam told The Guardian in a 2005 interview. Her 1985 novel Crusoe's Daughter, about an isolated woman who is obsessed with books, specifically Robinson Crusoe, was partly inspired by Gardam's mother, she said. It has a lot to do with a girl not being educated, when if she had been a boy, the money would have been found. Andrew Carpin. Andrew Carpin dies at 59. Andrew Carpin, the respected CEO of Bleecker Street Media, who founded the indie distribution company after spending a decade as a top executive with Focus Features, died Monday. He was 59. He was diagnosed last year with glioblastoma, a form of brain cancer, and died in Fairfield County, Connecticut. Our industry has lost a giant, Bleecker Street President Kent Sanderson said in a statement. Andrew taught us all so much, foremost of which is the value of kindness, honesty, and family above all else. His leadership and courage will inspire all of us at Bleecker Street for the rest of our lives. Carpin launched New York-based Bleecker Street in 2014 with the backing of Manoj Bhargava, founder of the 5-Hour Energy drink. He named his company with a nod to the old Focus headquarters at 65 Bleecker Street. I'm looking forward to bringing the work of great filmmakers into the marketplace, and I couldn't be more excited to be launching this new company in New York City, Carpin said in a statement at the time. Bleecker Street will be well positioned to distribute films on a platform or national basis, whatever best suits each title. Among the films released under his watch were Trumbo, 2015, Beasts of No Nation, 2015, Danny Collins, 2015, Elvis and Nixon, 2016, Eye in the Sky, 2016, Logan Lucky, 2017, Hotel Mumbai, 2018, and more recently, the 2023 releases Golda, One Life, What Happens Later, and Mafia Mama. Some people will like some of our movies. Some people might not. But I'd like to think when they see a bleaker movie, it's at least thought-provoking, he told The Hollywood Reporter in 2018. Andrew Mark Carpin, whose father was an obstetrician and gynecologist in New York, was born on April 18, 1966. Ed Pink. Ed Pink died at 94. Watchmaking has long been the province of skilled artisans, experts with steady hands who can turn the intricate spinning of tiny cogs and springs into the exact Me-96 assurement of time. Amateurs. Try getting a bunch of precision-milled metal to house controlled detonations at 9,000 revolutions per minute, huffing nitromethane and hurling a spindly dragster down the quarter mile, breaking into the 6-second zone. Such was the life's work of legendary engine builder Ed Pink, who has died at the age of 94. Life's work can be taken literally here, as Pink tore apart the engine of his very first car pretty much as soon as he bought it, and built his last engine just a couple of years ago, at the age of 92. That motor was a Ford 427 SOHC Cammer V8, something that Pink built his career on back in the mid-1960s. It ended up getting shipped to Australia, as Ed Pink's engines have a globe-spanning reputation. Born in Los Angeles in 1931, Pink turned 16 just as the explosion of post-war SoCal hot rodding hit. One of his first jobs was pushing a broom at pioneering hot rodder Lou Bainey's shop, and he was soon out sending up dust contrails on California's dry lake beds, along with the rest of the speed-obsessed lake runners. After 2 years in the U.S. Army serving in the Korean War, Pink returned to Los Angeles and set up his own shop. He built his own dragster, and then started building engines for other racing teams. "Think Pink" became his slogan. Pink built his reputation for timepiece-quality drag racing V8s with the 426 Mopar Hemi and later the Ford V8s, helping heroes like Don the Snake Prudhomme and Don Garlits set and break records. He built the 2,500 HP Chrysler Elephant engines that ran in funny car racing in the 1970s. Priscilla Pointer. Priscilla Pointer dies at 100. Priscilla Pointer, who played the mother of her real-life daughter Amy Irving in Carrie and also appeared on Dallas, died Monday in Ridgefield, Con. She was 100. Pointer's death was confirmed to Variety by her son, USC professor David K. Irving. Pointer played Irving's mom in Carrie and appeared with her daughter in 6 other movies. She also portrayed other famous mothers throughout the 70s and 80s, including Diane Keaton's in Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Kyle MacLachlan's in Blue Velvet, and Sean Penn's in The Falcon and the Snowman. Additionally, she starred in the CBS soap opera Dallas as the mother of Victoria Principal's character. Over the years, Pointer appeared in A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, Twilight Zone the movie, ER, Judging Amy, Saint Elsewhere, McCoy, McCloud, and NYPD. Pointer also appeared in 3 films directed by her son, David Irving, including the 1987 musical adaptation of Rumpelstiltskin, Goodbye, Cruel World, and CHUD 2, Bud the CHUD. Before acting in film and TV, Pointer got her start on the stage as a New York-born performer. She appeared in several Broadway shows, including the original tours of A Streetcar Named Desire, The Caucasian Chalk Circle, The Condemned of Altona, Yerma, and The East Wind, oftentimes under the direction of husband Jules Irving. She met Irving in Europe after an Army production of, quote, Brother Rat. With her husband, Pointer co-founded the San Francisco Actors Workshop with Herbert Blau and Beatrice Manley. The company was eventually taken over by the Vivian Beaumont Theater in New York City. Dick Barnett. Dick Barnett dies at 88. To generations of HBCU sports fans, those 2 words weren't just a nickname, they were a declaration. A call to greatness. A legacy in motion. And now, that legacy says goodbye. Dr. Dick Barnett, Tennessee A&I icon and New York Knicks champion, passed away in his sleep on April 26, 2025, in Largo, Florida, at the age of 88. With his passing, HBCU basketball loses one of its most enduring legends, a player whose path broke barriers and lifted communities far beyond the hardwood. A titan at Tennessee A&I, before the glitz of Madison Square Garden, Barnett carved out one of the most dominant collegiate careers in HBCU history. Under Hall of Famer John McClendon, Barnett led Tennessee A&I, now Tennessee State, to 3 straight NAIA national championships from 1957 to 1959, a feat no HBCU has matched since. Named All-American 3 times and tournament MVP twice, his scoring brilliance and fearless play made him the face of a program that helped put black college basketball on the national map. His number 35 jersey remains the only one ever retired by the university. Champion and clutch in the NBA. After stints with the Syracuse Nationals and LA Lakers, Barnett joined the Knicks in 1965 and helped lead the team to titles in 1970 and 1973. While the world remembers Willis Reed's dramatic Game 7 entrance in the Kate 70 finals, it was Barnett who poured in 21 points and guarded Jerry West in the Knicks' first ever championship win. He averaged over 18 points per game in that series and was a top 10 scorer league-wide in multiple seasons. Known for his unorthodox jumper, a high-arching shot with a signature mid-air fallback, he gave defenders nightmares and fans memories. Cora Sue Collins. Cora Sue Collins dies at 98. Cora Sue Collins, the charming child actress of the 1930s and 40s, who worked alongside such legends as Greta Garbo, Claudette Colbert, Bette Davis, Irene Dunne, and Merle Oberon, during her brief but sensational career, has died. She was 98. Collins died Sunday at her home in Beverly Hills of complications from a stroke, her daughter, Susie Creaser, told The Hollywood Reporter. Collins played younger versions of Colbert in Torch Singer, 1933, Frances D. in The Strange Case of Clara Dean, 1932, and Keep 'Em Rolling, 1934, Loretta Young in Caravan, 1934, Oberon in The Dark Angel, 1935, and Lynn Bari in Blood and Sand, 1941. "I must have the most common face in the world," she said in a 2019 interview. "I played either the most famous actresses of the 30s as a child or their child. They made me up to look like everybody." The MGM contract player also was William Powell and Myrna Loy's daughter in Evelyn Prentice, 1934. Portrayed Amy Lawrence in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, 1938. Appeared in the original Magnificent Obsession, 1935, starring Dunn and her personal crush, Robert Taylor, and was one of Davis's students at an American girls' school in All This and Heaven 2, 1940. Garbo personally selected Collins to play her younger self in Queen Christina, 1933, and the two appeared together again in Anna Karenina, 1935. The reclusive star often invited Collins into her lavish suite on the MGM lot for afternoon tea. Collins drank milk, and they remained friends until Garbo's death in 1990. Collins also called Pat O'Brien Uncle Pat, went roller skating with Cesar Romero, and was babysat by Lana Turner. Whiz Jones. Whiz Jones died at 86. He gave lessons to Keith Richards, had Bruce Springsteen cover his songs, and was copied by Eric Clapton. His Times obituary described him as a guitarist who should have been superstar. Whiz Jones, described as one of the seminal musicians of his time, a part of Britain's beatnik movement, who was influenced by the words of Jack Kerouac and music of Woody Guthrie, has died, aged 86. Raymond Ronald Jones was born in Thornton Heath in those dark pre-war days of April 1939. Whiz was a nickname given to him by his mother because of his love for performing conjuring tricks, but it stuck with him throughout a music career that began in the 1950s and continued until his final gig in February this year. Jones spent his youth in and around Croydon, including at the Sir Philip Game Boys Club, where he was part of the same group of youngsters, learning musical instruments and telling gags as Roy Hudd, as Whiz recalled in an online memoir about his Croydon roots. Whiz Jones's first regular gigs came with his first band in the Leslie Arms Addiscombe, when he was significantly underage for a pub in the 1950s at 17. He also played regularly at the Croydon Folk Club and the Oval Tavern. He was a close friend of Croydon's other folk hero, Ralph McTell, but Jones's influence extended far and wide. He gave guitar lessons to a teenaged Keith Richards, long before he formed the Rolling Stones with Mick Jagger. The young Eric Clapton would turn up for Whiz Jones gigs and sit in the front row to study his guitar technique. And as his Times obituary recalls, characteristically, he remained blithely unaware when Bruce Springsteen covered When I Leave Berlin. Bruce Willis. The only movies Bruce Willis watches every year. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. The events of the film are directly tied to the holiday season. John McClane is only at Nakatomi Plaza to visit his wife Holly for her company's Christmas party. He even drops a deadpan ho 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 for goodness sake. It doesn't get much more jolly old Saint Nick than that. Interestingly, despite being at the center of this obviously festive affair, Bruce Willis himself has come forward and said it is not a Christmas film. That's okay, of course. He's allowed to be wrong. Despite this judgment, there are undoubtedly still families who sit down to watch the Barefoot Bonanza every year with their turkey dinners. Willis might not be indulging in this particular tradition, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have his own list of annual rewatches. Speaking to Ain't It Cool, the legendary man of action outlined some of the movies he can't go 12 months without viewing. Here are my top 5 or 6 movies which I generally watch 3 to 5 times a year, he explained. Dr. Strangelove, Raging Bull, the first 2 Godfathers, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, Spartacus, Bridge on the River Kwai, Bullet, The Great Escape, On the Waterfront, Reservoir Dogs, Patton. I really dug 300, The First Alien, Last Picture Show, that's more than 5 or 6. Bad maths to one side, Willis's list gives a real insight into what he enjoys about movies. There are 2 Stanley Kubrick numbers on there, Strangelove and Spartacus, and 3 Martin Scorsese pictures, Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, and Goodfellas. Willis once admitted that he used to watch the latter once a week, so it's no surprise that it's ended up here.